So you are very bummed out that you can now order a Durango RT and a Durango Hellcat in CARB states, which basically means you can't get a 392 Hemi or a 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8 in those states. Now, the question is, how would Dodge survive where basically about 40% of their customers cut off from buying their fastest Hemi V8 models? But what if I told you that Dodge has been working in the background, and I have this document right here to show you guys, that show you that 10 out of 17 states that follows CARB reached an agreement with Dodge to offer these models. And I'm going to tell you in this video which states are now allowing these Hemi V8 vehicles right now. Okay, well, we're 52,000 friends, and the 57% of you guys who watch these videos and haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Now, I was very shocked a few months ago when I learned that essentially the 392 and the Durango Hellcat will be banned in CARB states when I leaked it out first before everyone else did, because I got the order guide from a very dear source of mine and stuff, right? And I figured that, you know, Dodge and Ram, all these guys, they could probably make it work being cut off from the 17 states, but it equals about 40 to 45% of all their customers in those particular regions stuff. I figured it could work out for them still by going through this approach of basically giving them all the electric vehicles, giving them all the Hurricane vehicles, and then giving us and the rest of the states, all of us Hemis and stuff. I mean, basically Stellantis did the exact same thing a couple of years ago where they pulled out pretty much all the gasoline powered light vehicles from those states. And especially with the, I believe the Wrangler is a good example of that, right? Well, like the Wrangler, they only gave those CARB states like 4xe versions of the Wrangler. And then if you wanted a gas version of the Wrangler, you had to go and order it, and then you get it that way. And then if you lived in the federal states, we got all the gasoline powered Wranglers. And then if you wanted a 4xe, you had to go order a 4xe, and then boom, there you go. So I figured this would be like basically a best both worlds approach, and I think it would have worked because they done it before like a couple years ago, and that's when they were still making a ton of money back in 2023 when they did that, right? I think they still made around like 20-30 billion dollars doing that approach. But it seems that Dodge has been working in the background, and they have these several CARB states who have now they negotiated with and come to an agreement with to successfully allow Durango Hellcat orders. Now, I don't know whether or not this included the Durango 392, which is now the RT Durango, but I'll show you I'll show you guys this graphic right here that's showing you what states will allow these Durangos to be ordered in. So if you look at this list, there are these states right here that can now allow the order of a Durango Hellcat. So you got Colorado, you got Connecticut, you got Delaware, you got Maine, Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, and Rhode Island and Virginia. So most notably on this list, you do not see states like California, New York, and I still believe that Pennsylvania is probably another state you still probably can't order. I think Washington's on there, some couple other states, but those are the main big markets. California, New York, and Pennsylvania, they're usually up in the top 5 or top 10 of states that gets a lot of orders from when I use it to track like Challenger and Charter orders and stuff, right? So it says nothing about the Durango 392 on this list and stuff. So if you live in these states, probably your best bet is to ask the dealer if there are going to be any updates on the Durango 392, especially if you want to order a Durango 392 Durango and stuff. I mean, I get a bunch of people every single day sending me messages. Hey, we know about Durango 392. When do you think it's going to come out? When you guys think it's going to be able to be ordered in certain states and stuff? I don't particularly know. I just think this vehicle, especially a lot of people asking me about it, it's going to be a very popular vehicle. And I don't know why this graphic doesn't say anything about the Durango 392. It just says the Hellcat, and why it's getting delayed. I don't necessarily have an exact answer about being delayed, but I'll take a wild guess that maybe they are basically building back with the inventory of the 392 Hemi and stuff because of this graphic that I have right here that me and TK's garage leaked out a couple of months ago, that basically the priority right now is basically the 5.7 Hemi engine. And that was been a priority for the past few months to get about 600-700 out, I think, per day, whatever, right? And so I think just because of that, they already had 302 Hemis in stock, but they only had so many for the Durango 392. They wasn't really selling like 10, 15, 20,000 Durango 392. So I think they just had like just enough inventory to offer that vehicle for the next couple of years, and then that was basically it. So probably what they're doing is building backup inventory for the 392 Hemi engine and stuff, and they just didn't, you know, I think that's probably what they're doing, because I figured they believe that the Durango 392 is going to sell pretty well, especially the amount of people that ask me about it. So I think the Durango 392 is probably going to be a very, very big seller, since that vehicle's been missing since 2024 out of the lineup, and it's basically 50 grand for a almost 500 horsepower SUV, and I'm hoping it's going to be placing a lot more vehicle stuff. So now I'm sure that the Hurricane engines are probably given maybe like a second priority, since it's going to be the only gas engine in like the Charger, for example, for like another year, and still been the Ram 1500 and Wagoneer models. I'm pretty sure there's still like an ongoing thing between Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Chrysler to basically negotiate these CARB states to allow Hemi engines to basically go in those states. That's probably why the 392 and stuff is not really, you know, that high up on the list until they, I guess they can figure out if they can get more sales out of it or not. But maybe we could see the other 7 states that ban these Hemi engines change their minds. I mean, at the end of the day, those Hemis are basically in more expensive models, hence they get more money in tax revenue, and they had to continue and use like more expensive things in those states, right? They consume more expensive fuel, more expensive tires, and then the state collect higher taxes revenues per vehicle and stuff, right? Sales tax, those states that have like 7% sales tax, we got 3% here in North Carolina, those other states got 7. So I mean, there's bigger fish to fry and more money these states can make by selling these more expensive vehicles, right? They got higher insurance costs. I mean, there's plenty of good reasons why to allow the 392 and Durango Hellcat in all these states and stuff, right? Because I mean, obviously, between me and you, this isn't about emissions, right? It's about money. I mean, if it was about emissions, then why now all of a sudden out the blue that now, you know, 10 CARB states will allow the Durango Hellcat to be magically ordered and several aren't? So it's obviously not an emissions thing if they're still following CARB. I think this is a backdoor money thing, and this concept of nitpicking between what vehicles can pass and not pass in certain states is like, and this whole nonsense, I think of what CARB stickers on products, people faking CARB stickers, all this other crap. It's like one of the dumbest things I freaking heard of, and I'm glad I don't have to deal with this CARB nonsense that a lot of you guys probably watching this video had to deal with, because I mean I live in North Carolina, right? So hopefully these other states will eventually over time just eliminate this CARB nonsense and go back to federal guidelines. I mean, to me, honestly, it should be illegal for a state to dictate emissions guidelines when we don't live in separate countries. I can understand if we was going to Canada or Mexico or France or something like that, but we're on a drive across state lines. I mean, we don't, you know, had to go, if I want to go to Virginia, for example, right? I don't have to go across a border crossing and go show my passport or my driver's license and stuff. I can just drive across. So whatever, man. It's just a headache even thinking about that nonsense, and I'm just glad I don't got to deal with the crap. But this is good news at the end of the day, that the Durango Hellcat at least will be allowed in literally every state but 7. And hopefully those 7 will start to kind of change their mind or negotiate with Stellantis on the other hand and try to allow these vehicles in those states, which, I mean, they happen to have some of the most important markets for Stellantis. California, I think, is like their 2nd biggest market behind Texas. I think New York is up in the top 3 or top 4, somewhere around there. And Pennsylvania, I think, is in the top 10. So yeah, they do have some very important markets, but I mean, hey, they don't want to negotiate, just flood them like they did the last time back in 2023. Give nothing but electric vehicles, give nothing but hurricane power vehicles and stuff, and let them envy us with all these Hemi goodness that my dear friend Tim Kniss is going to bless us with, because we're going to have more Hellcat powered vehicles. We're going to have TRXs and stuff, and they don't get none of that crap. They're going to just have electric vehicles, Toyota Daytona, Wagoneer S, 4xEs, and we're going to have Hellcats. But I'll let you guys know if I hear anything about the Durango 392, especially 392 Hemi. I mean, I know it is coming in a bunch of models. Like I said, the Durango RTs is 392 now. Ram's going to have one in the Ram 1500, which I talked to you guys about in a few videos. And hopefully on October 6th, which should be a couple days from this video right here, we're going to actually see an actual announcement, and Ram going to get their first 392 into Ram 1500 and stuff. And then you got to figure, I mean, I think everybody just knows, we just taste it, we can just smell it, that the 392 Hemi is going to be back in the Charger again. And I hope they go drop this whole scat pack nonsense of calling every daggone car in dotted line of a scat pack and just only call the 392 Hemi in the Charger a scat pack. I mean, we're just in this lame duck period while everything goes back to the tried and true formula, the boring old formula of Hemi everything, Hellcat everything. That's the winning formula that won them tens of billions of dollars. This EV and Hurricane nonsense lost them money every single year. So I'm just saying, it's cheaper to pay emissions fines than to just go to Hellcats, not Hellcats, but Hurricanes and electric vehicles and lose a ton of money. But that's just me. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Will more of these CARB states cave in and allow our favorite Hemi powered vehicles to be sold and registered in those states? Is it really about emissions, or is it really about backdoor deals? Because it doesn't make any sense how 10 out of 17 CARB states will now allow the Hellcat, but 7 are still holding out. I mean, don't we all breathe the same air? But just let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. And if you want to check out this new Ram street truck that I think will have a 392 Hemi, you can check out this video right here. And until the next time, I am